Hi friend, welcome back to Nurse Converse. My name is Mel from Mel's Crafty Corner, and I am so excited to be here today with Nurse.org to share my story. If you had told me a few years ago that my little t-shirt business, born out of boredom and burnout during the pandemic, would one day earn me not one, but 2 Best of Nursing awards, I probably would have laughed. But here we are. This episode is for every nurse who's ever felt stuck or uncertain, unseen, or felt like your story has maybe taken a left turn that you didn't plan for. Because sometimes those detours end up becoming your destination. And my story is kind of the epitome of that. A little backstory for those of you who don't know my story. Back in 2020, I was working as a pediatric bedside nurse during the COVID-19 pandemic. And while the world was seeing nurses on the front lines, exhausted, overworked, quote unquote, heroes, my experience looked a little bit different. I was working as a PRN, which meant I was getting canceled a lot. I was also working night shift, so you can imagine how that worked a little bit. At first, it sounded nice, like, oh, I get the night off, but the weeks went on, and I started feeling this weird kind of burnout. Not from doing too much, but from not doing enough. I honestly felt helpless. I'm a nurse. I'm wired to help others. And I worked so hard to be in the position that I was. But suddenly I wasn't needed. So I needed something that made me feel productive and creative and helpful again. And that's when Mel's Crafty Corner was born, literally out of a corner room in our apartment. And we can't even really call it a room because it had no closets, so it couldn't technically be defined as a room. Hence why the corner. I started making t-shirts. At first, it was just for fun, something to keep my hands busy while my mind was wandering. Eventually, I did go back to work. I wasn't canceled one shift, and I decided to wear one of my shirts to work. A coworker loved it, made her one, and quickly the news spread like wildfire, and I was making t-shirts for all the units all over the hospital. It gave me that sense of purpose again, like I could still contribute to something meaningful, even from home. And in May 2020, I officially launched my website, shopmelscraftycorner.com. And honestly, I did it because it was taking too much to try to coordinate orders via Instagram DMs, text messages, and PayPal or Venmo. But in January of 2021, everything had changed. I had injured my back very seriously, where I couldn't work as a nurse for 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. And I'll remind you, I was a PRN, so I didn't qualify for FMLA. I had no financial help from my employer or the government. And if I'm being completely honest, I was terrified. Those 6 months were one of the hardest, excruciating, down bad times of my life. And but in the middle of all that pain and uncertainty, I decided to focus on what I could control. And that was my business. Mel's Crafty Corner became my lifeline. I was in so much physical pain, but my little crafty corner kept me sane. See what I did there? It kept me occupied. It gave me a reason to get up and create every day. It gave me a sense of purpose that even though I wasn't helping at the bedside, I was still helping my nursing community look and feel their best on and off the floor with my little t-shirts. And after those 6 months, I did end up going back to work with a weight restriction. And it was hard. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. The job that I worked so hard for, the one that I loved so much, it didn't feel the same anymore. There was some institutional betrayal, a lot of bullies, and the constant reminder that my body just couldn't keep up with the job the way that it used to. And in September of 2021, I made the hardest decision of my life. And I'm going to try not to get emotional because it's still something I'm working towards, but I left the bedside. And let me remind you, I loved being a pediatric nurse. And I was a good one, as evidenced by my 3 Daisy nominations. But at the end of the day, I had to choose myself, my health, my peace, and my purpose. When I left bedside nursing, I went full-time with my business. I dove right in. And I wish I could tell you that it was smooth sailing from there, but it was not. The first year was full of highs and lows. I had my first bad business deal where I lost $7,000 in paid labor during my first collab, and it crushed me. During that time, I was also going through a major family crisis. And there were many points that I thought, there's no way I can do this. I went to nursing school. I didn't go to business school. What am I doing? I knew how to manage a code, not a campaign. But I kept showing up. I showed up scared. I showed up embarrassed. I showed up anyway. And every failure taught me something. Every mistake made me stronger. And just like in nursing, when things go wrong, you learn, you adapt, and you keep moving forward. Then something incredible happened. I want to let this be known, and something that I'm very proud of, that within 1 year of leaving bedside, I was not only nominated, but I won Nurse Entrepreneur of the Year with Nurse.org. That moment not only changed my life, but it lit a fire in me that I can't describe. It was the validation that I needed that I was on the right path, even if it didn't look like what I had imagined when I first became a nurse. The next year, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I was nominated again, and I won Best Nurse Founded Business. And in both times, it was not just about me. I want to make that very clear. It was about the messages that these awards sent to the entire nursing community. If you haven't heard of the Best of Nursing Awards, let me just say that these awards remind us that nursing doesn't have to fit inside one box. You can be a nurse and be creative. You can be a nurse and a CEO, a nurse and a dreamer. Our impact doesn't end when we clock out. And that's something I really want this episode to scream. Because I will be completely honest here, leaving the bedside was one of the hardest identity shifts I've ever gone through. And something I'm still kind of struggling with a little to this day. For a while, I felt guilty. I felt like I wasn't a real nurse anymore. But here's what I've learned. I never stopped being a nurse. I just started caring for people in a different way. Through my business and through storytelling, mainly through community, I'm still advocating. I'm still encouraging. And I'm still healing in my own way. So to any nurse who's listening to this, who maybe feels stuck or unseen, or maybe like you're losing yourself in the process, please hear me. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to pivot. You are so much more than your job title or the letters that are behind your name. Nursing gives us resilience. And that's something that you can carry anywhere. You know, when I think about resilience, I used to picture it as getting back up after you fall, bouncing back quickly. But I think now, especially after my injury and going through what I've gone through, I see it very differently. I don't see resilience as bouncing back. It's sometimes about bending without breaking. Sometimes it's about letting life change you, but not destroy you. When I hurt my back and I couldn't work, I thought my career was over. I've been very vulnerable about my mental health online, and those of you who are around during that time, you know how emotional I was. I cried a lot from the physical and the emotional agony that I was in. I felt useless. There were even times where my husband had to help me bathe and dress myself. And as a nurse, we're the ones that normally help others. So it's really hard when it's the other way around. I started to question everything about who I was. But every day, I would just go into my little craft room, turn on some music, and make something meaningful for somebody else. And that's when I realized something. I don't know when it happened, but something clicked where I realized that resilience doesn't always look strong. Sometimes it looks quiet. Sometimes it looks like resting. And sometimes it looks like creating something small just to remind yourself that you still can. And as nurses, we talk a lot about strength. But I think the real strength is in the softness. It's in the way that we keep showing up with compassion, even when we're tired or we hurt ourselves. Resilience also isn't about permission. Resilience is also about permission. It's permission to pivot. It's permission to heal. It's permission to be kinder to yourself. To start again. To try something different. It's knowing that just because one version of your story ends doesn't mean you do. And if you're the season where everything feels uncertain, I want you to remember that you have survived 100% of your hardest days so far. You did it. You survived. And you have everything that you need to rebuild something beautiful from what broke you. Okay, and maybe, just maybe, resilience isn't about getting back to who you were. It's about becoming a stronger, softer, more you than ever before. And that's something that my back injury gave me. Ooh. I didn't think I was going to cry this episode. I told myself I wasn't going to, but if I could just come through this microphone, come through your speakers, and give you a big hug if you're feeling this way. Because I've been there. I have been at the bottom of the barrel, and I have been to the top. I've seen everything in between, and I know how beautiful this life can be, and those are the moments that keep me going. And it's communities like Nurse.org that help me shine. Now, before I wrap up, I just want to say a huge thank you to Nurse.org for not only recognizing me, but for creating a space that celebrates nurses beyond the bedside. And if you're listening to this right now and thinking that that could never be me, I promise it can. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to start. When I started my website, I didn't know what I was doing, but I figured it out as I went along. I tried. And sometimes I failed, and other times I succeeded. And I feel right now I'm succeeding right now. I'm overcoming a fear, so to speak. Podcast episodes, can be a little scary, but here we are. You just have to start. Because you don't know unless you try. And I would rather fail than not know. And if you're a nurse, if you went through nursing school, if you sat through your NCLEX, if you have letters behind your name, you are a nurse. Do I need to say that again? Okay. You are a nurse who's doing amazing things for yourself, for your families, for your community. I encourage you to keep going. I encourage you to keep shining, keep spreading your sunshine, keep radiating all the goodness that we have worked so hard for. And I also encourage you to nominate yourself or a friend for the Best of Nursing Awards this year with Nurse.org. It has changed my life in more ways than one. I've had so many beautiful opportunities, so many doors that have opened because of these awards. And it has been the greatest journey to be able to share this platform with you. Because celebrating each other matters. Our stories matter. And when one nurse wins, we all do. I say this all the time. We are all in this together. And yes, we can cue the High School Musical dance. We're all in this together. The Best of Nursing Award nominations will be rolling out at the end of this year and beginning of next. So start thinking about who you'd like to nominate. Start writing your nomination letter yourself. And thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode, friend. And as a reminder, you are allowed to dream bigger than your scrubs. And even if you're not working as a nurse, you're still using your nursing knowledge in a creative way. And that is a beautiful thing. If you like this episode, please give it a 5-star review. Share it with your friends. Anybody that's maybe feeling a little bit down and needs some encouragement, send this to them. Leave a comment down below. Tell me how your day was. I would love to hear from you. And make sure to let Nurse.org know if you want to hear more from me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, wherever this is finding you. I'm sending nothing but good, positive energy your way today and every day. If you want to hear more from me, you can find me at Mel's Crafty Corner. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And if you are looking for super cute apparel and gifts for nurses this holiday season, you can shop melscraftycorner.com. I would love to make something special just for you or your loved one. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.